We also have a long-term priorities up here as well. And so we would like you all to kind of regroup and then get your ideas and then what we're going to do is we're going to have you pace them accordingly. There's a lot of things that arise when we do this work, and just really being able to map it out because yeah. Hello. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Okay, I think we're back. No, I love it. I really do. I love the discussion and I love the passion, that we have and being able to really just, put our whole mind and whole heart into this dialogue and this discussion. And so all of your feedback is really important and all of your ideas and really helping to manage what does the future look like as far as the next 12 months and then going into long term. So if you all have your sticky notes, what we're going to do, again, just being able to really map it out in using these charts as a visual. We have one chart that is for our urgent priorities within the next 12 months. And then we have another chart that is long-term because we understand that some things take a little bit more time. But we're visual people, right? Sometimes, we need to see it and really put it into a visual chart and really just, this is the beauty of being able to map that out and then also, but having, everyone engage and interact and really just bringing that into fruition. And so I really like one of these exercises. I do it with the youth a lot, and they love to engage, and they love to just get out there and put their sticky notes on there and all of their ideas. Because sometimes, as CEOs and sometimes as, as we do this work, we get all of these ideas, and it's up here. Well, let's get those ideas and let's put them out on here. So when you're ready, we'll go ahead and we can start mapping them out and putting them up here. So if you all want to take a chance to get up and then let's start seeing what you all came up with. I would love to see that. And so you'll just put your sticky notes right on these papers right here.
So we'll start with the urgent ones. What are the urgent things that we are looking at within the next 12 months that need to happen now or that we need to take priority? So we want to select out of those that we've written down and place them there.
And we
I'll start picking groups. Come on.
Don't be shy. We have some volunteers as well. If you don't want to get up or if you need a little help, they can put it up for you.
Go.
Yes, I'm so excited to see all of this wonderful work that is going to be put into action within the next 12 months. If you need a little help, go ahead and raise your hand, and then we also can have our volunteers come and help you put up your sticky note. Are they going to know? Yes, so would you all like to take a healthy risk and even take a step further? And if you would like to say what you put up there, I can pass the mic. Okay. Can we get a volunteer to also help pass the mic around?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the first one that we put up for urgent priorities are challenge the pre-established ways of reporting and grant management. The second one, amplify the voices of our partners and establish healthy boundaries with other funders. So if they want to talk to some of our partners that would give grants to, being able to say no and like we have that relationship with them. Also, have our own Indigenous fund distribution mechanism. So sometimes there are different ways that people are able to get money. They might not have access to the internet or PayPal methods. So creating an Indigenous-owned way of which we can distribute funding. And then continue the conversation around Indigenous-led funds in other spaces. For example, having a change philanthropy conversation at the Unity Summit in LA this year.
Thank you. Anyone else want to take a healthy risk? And here we go.
Gracias. En realidad nuestro grupo se enfocó más a las prioridades de los 12 meses porque esa era la tarea. Bueno, tenemos dos ideas centrales. Primero, creemos que es muy importante seguir con la idea que se mencionó antes acerca de construir nuestra propia narrativa. Para esto sentimos que ya hemos compartido varias ideas aquí en el grupo y que sería muy bueno tener de las minutas alguna clase de resumen que vaya aglutinando y que se comparta después para revisarla y seguirla construyendo, quizás en algún documento. Y bueno, también sería quizás bueno construir un manifiesto acerca de lo que implican los fondos indígenas y también establecer que tienen que ser obviamente diversos e interseccionales. Otro punto muy importante que consideramos es conocernos más. Necesitamos un tiempo para saber quiénes somos, qué hacemos, dónde estamos, cuáles son las problemáticas en nuestras regiones, con qué organizaciones, comunidades trabajamos, en qué lugares tenemos o podemos tener sinergias y para esto seguir platicando acerca de las experiencias, pero sobre todo las expertices que cada uno hemos desarrollado y compartir esas experiencias de cada uno de los fondos, cómo funcionamos y también los problemas a los que nos hemos enfrentado. Y hablar también acerca de por qué algunos quizás son más exitosos que otros, por qué otros han tenido más dificultades, todo eso para conocernos y seguir construyendo una idea de los fondos indígenas. Bueno, creo que sería todo.
I see a lot of good stuff up here. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll go ahead and read off a couple. I feel like it's very important.
Bueno, quisiera compartir una de las propuestas que hicimos los compañeros. No recuerdo todos sus nombres, pero estamos dentro de las propuestas urgentes está el impulso a fondos o apoyos para protección de defensores, acceso a la justicia y parar la criminalización. América Latina y me parece que otras regiones del mundo es una de las regiones donde más se acumulan agresiones a los defensores ambientales y por lo tanto a las comunidades. Creemos que debería de fortalecerse el apoyo a las iniciativas que buscan darles protección. Justo ahora en que estamos en esta reunión están llegando algunas comunicaciones de comunidades que están siendo amenazadas, hostigadas por productores porcícolas aquí en la región que quieren entrar por la fuerza a los territorios. Bueno, ese es uno de los temas que estamos colocando ahí como una propuesta de prioridades urgentes, ¿no? Gracias.
Thank you. Yes, that our people's safety is really important and defending the defenders. I agree with that.
Yeah, from my groups, we think that the first priority is capacity building for indigenous people, especially for national and sub-regional indigenous peoples organizations at the regional level, talking and discuss about resource mobilization, strategy, and also fundraisings. That's the first priority. And then the second one, we think that we need to continue creating the space for indigenous people's funders, especially developing a common understanding. Because we talk a lot, we discuss many important issues, we need to come up with the common understanding among us. And then also knowledge building and information sharing hub. It's like online based, because today we're learning many value, many principles that we talk a lot about how to build the indigenous-led funding mechanism. So I think this can be the first step for us to making a hub, information hub, that we can use for many actors. And then the four priority, we need like to have a hearing with the other donors. We can learn from the perspective from donor why most of the donors didn't have a trust with indigenous peoples. They keep talking about indigenous peoples organization or local community organization can manage the fund. Maybe they have experience in the past, so we can share the perspective among us as the indigenous movement and also with the donors' perspective. So that's from our group. Thank you.
Any additional comments that we want to add?
Just really quickly, because most of what we put up there was overlap with a lot of the groups, which is really cool to see. One thing that our group discussed was this meeting is so full of richness and information and goals sharing, and it's really just been open in how we've been communicating with one another. If there's a way to gather that and to share that with other folks working in philanthropy and with our donors and our philanthropic community that's supporting us, that would be really fantastic and impactful. Thanks.
Sorry, we're having a Wi-Fi problem. Any additional comments that we'd like to add on here? If not, it's okay, but we'll leave this up. Whoever wants to take pictures of it, and we'll also take note of it. Anything from the back? I know the big group in the back had a lot of wonderful things.
Yeah, so we did discuss the need for IFIP to decentralize to regional levels, not country but regionally. I think there's a lot of, as my colleague has mentioned, there's a lot of richness and impact that is already being felt at the global, at the international level. So we encourage and request that IFIP could also decentralize to regional level. And what else? And also the approach of practicing traditional knowledge and not documenting. I think there's that gap. Speaking to some elders, they told me we don't document traditional knowledge. We practice traditional knowledge. And I see a lot of us requesting documentation of traditional knowledge, which at some point could be sacred and very intimate to specific indigenous communities. So how do we bring in the learning angle for funders to understand that it's not about documenting, but it is practicing traditional knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else before we head into our next topic? Are we good with this? Do we feel good about it? Comfortable with what was developed? Yes. Okay. I'm going to pass the mic to Lourdes and our wonderful elder. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have a lot of things that we want to do. Who will do it? So we need to hear from each one of you if you are willing to collaborate in any one of these activities. You have the sticky, do you have them? So if you can put your name and what would you wish to be involved in. You all will participate, but we say, for example, capacity development. Would you be willing to share some type of knowledge or some skill with other fund? We talked about conflict of interest. Would you be willing to write a paper on conflict of interest from the point of view of Indigenous-led organizations? Things like that. Who would be willing to do something?
Do we want to pass these out? Or
Yeah, whoever wishes to say so we don't force them.
Okay. Go ahead, just pass them out. Si nomás quieres poner.
There's a lot of knowledge in this group, and we don't want to lose it, and we don't want you to go back expecting that Lourdes will identify everybody that will do the things. If you volunteer to do something, it would be good if you can share with us now. ¿Quieren colaborar en algo? ¿Quién quisiera compartir algo? ¡Qué barbaridad! Nadie. For example, I remember 3 years ago, we met with Podali. And we say, okay, we don't have a lot of knowledge, but we can collaborate and share with you what we have been doing at Pawanka. And I think the same thing we did with the Arctic. So maybe some of you would like to share your experience. It's decolonizing. Just think what you can share. Yes?
I think what I can share is a lot having to do with fundraising, funding, and capacity development in that area, and just sharing with resources and experiences with building things from the ground up. And I would really be thrilled to participate in building and organizing some sort of a group in that way.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you give us your name and your... ¿Sí? Por ahí no tienen otro micrófono. Acércate, pues.
Gracias, Valeria. Bueno, a nosotros nos gustaría tal vez organizar un diálogo sobre el tema de conflicto de interés que habíamos puesto hace rato sobre la mesa. Me parece que es algo que más o menos a todos nos interesa y sería bueno cómo creamos un nuevo enfoque al respecto. Gracias.
Lo anotas en un papelito y lo pones ahí. Y decís quiénes son los nosotros. ¿Yader?
La experiencia de Lanis Life también se comparte, la experiencia de Lanis Life sobre los fondos de defensores, porque normalmente los fondos de defensores son individuos, pero en característica de pueblos indígenas hay defensores colectivos y hay que buscar mecanismos, fortalecer los mecanismos de financiamiento de defensores colectivos y buscar recursos para las características de cooperación con este tipo de defensores colectivos.
Podría ser una coordinación entre IPRI y Lanis Life y
Sí.
invitan al resto.
Sí.
Muy bien, perfecto. Tenemos 3.
Yes. Good.
¿Alguien más? Teresa.
Nosotras nos gustaría compartir la experiencia de trabajo global con mujeres indígenas, cómo hacer el trabajo virtual y global.
Muy bien, entonces FIMI colaboraría para compartir la experiencia global. Yes, Galina.
I just wanted to share an example. A year ago, I think more than a year ago, we reached out to Lenda's Life to ask them for support about the funds for Indigenous rights defenders. And we've learned a lot from them. They just shared that information. We learned from them that defenders are much safer if there's a community behind them. So the community needs to organize. And it's much easier to support a collective of defenders rather than just a single defender. That was invaluable. So that's what we're talking about, right? And also, when we ran out of our funds for defenders, and we had requests from our partners, and we didn't have those funds, we reached out to Lenda's Life, who supported these requests. So we can work among each other. If we ran out of funds, we can reach out to you. It's like, do you have any funding to cover these requests? So I think that this can work out. So yeah.
Perfect. Any other? Yes.
We're really excited at the Circle to continue doing what we can to build relationship and fundraising for continued Aunties Gathering, which is Indigenous women in philanthropy to gather and connect. We did our first one this year. Yes, you can clap. It was amazing. In Paraguay, we're going to do more. And then the other piece is just that myself and Jess Balduke on Thursday, for folks who are participating here but are from so-called Canada, you're welcome to join us for a conversation on Thursday so that we can learn about how we want to stay connected and in support of, in solidarity with the global funding community. So we look forward to seeing you there on Thursday. Kukshem.
Thank you. Someone else wanted to say something? Well, Lourdes, I think with that list...
Ahí voy. Sí, me parece importante, platicábamos en el grupo hace un momento de también cómo visibilizar esos sistemas de vida comunitarios, los sistemas de vida en el medio indígena, que no son prácticamente lo que a veces se impone con el sistema económico, de que la medición es totalmente económico o meramente productivo. Sin embargo, todo lo que encierra las formas de vida comunitarias tendría que reflejarse en esta narrativa para hacer visible de que nuestro sistema de vida es distinto a lo que se nos impone.
Muy bien.
Landis Life. We want to be in the meeting with Landis Life.
Ya pueden anotarse. Hasta fecha pueden poner. Bueno, I think with the list of urgent activities and longer term 1 year activities, plus these specific commitments, we can work together with IFIP to work on a plan for the year. Now for that, until today with Jim, I have been playing the role of co-chairs. So we need co-chairs to support the work. I would like to open the floor, but I would like to invite Teresa. Would you be willing to be a co-chair? I'm inviting, volunteer. And I was thinking on Galina. Would you be willing to be, where are you, Galina? Co-chair? And I see someone else want to join. The idea, what I would like to propose is that we have co-chairs that can prepare a map the organizations that are here and can propose in the near future some way of a coordinating group, let's call it. But it would be too early to open that discussion today because we are just getting to know who are some of the funds, and we should be careful to ensure geographical balance, type of funds. So let's ask the co-chairs to work with IFIP to develop that proposal. And at some point come back to us with a proposal of how this global alliance of Indigenous-led funds can really articulate its work. And we know that each one of you have a lot of activities in your own fund. So co-chairing means additional responsibility. So I wanted to invite Galina and Teresa, but I saw someone raising hands. So if someone else wants to join, just feel que aceptas.
Bueno, sí, Mirna, claro que sí. FIMI y AINI estamos en toda la disposición de colaborar como un tiempo transitorio para preparar como la plataforma de manera que después podamos hacer algo mucho más integral.
Galina, what do you think?
I think that's a great idea. We need some capacity to be able to put this together. So we have to think this together. Yeah, maybe we'll see at the end of the conference, maybe some great ideas will come to fruition.
Okay, I'm here. You can count me, yes?
Liz and I will make a commitment to connect with our Canadian contingent and to perhaps not voluntold, but see if there's volunteers to engage in this endeavor. The Circle on Philanthropy can make a commitment of $10,000 to support the beginning coordination for meetings, to connect, invite anyone to match and or triple or quadruple or 10 times that amount, Kukshem.
Perfect, thank you. Allá atrás, hermana, ¿usted quería decir? Sí.
Sí. Desde MISNE también queríamos hacer esa invitación a que a los, en últimas, también cooperantes es sobre el programa de los pueblos en aislamiento y contacto inicial. Hay una buena experiencia en la ONG, entonces así que igual están bienvenidos a ser parte de este caminar, porque es un proceso más largo todavía con estos pueblos indígenas.
Quizás podríamos agregar, ¿lo pusieron ustedes? Quizás podríamos agregar algo, o sea, para comenzar por lo menos a ver qué hay, quiénes están haciendo, y porque siento que en determinado momento tendríamos que crear grupos de trabajo sobre temas específicos o áreas de trabajo específicos. Entonces, podría ser interesante ver quiénes más estarían interesados en ese trabajo.
Gracias.
Collave, ¿interesado? Sí. ¿Quería hablar?
Sim, COIAB tem trabalho sobre povos indígenas em isolamento voluntário, né? Temos uma gerência, né? Inclusive tem uma parceria com a MISNE.
Perfecto. Entonces tenemos co-chairs, pónganse de pie y que el grupo les un aplauso. Vengan las dos. So we have continuidad of that work that we began in 2018. So.
Bueno, agradecer muchísimo a Mirna porque yo estuve desde la primera sesión y ha sido una iniciativa junto con Lourdes. Me acuerdo que en una ocasión se estuvo conversando sobre la necesidad del espacio y hoy yo me acerqué a comentarle, decirle lo contenta que estaba de ver que hemos duplicado la cantidad de participantes de fondos. Es una riqueza y a la vez tiene sus retos. Y la riqueza más grande que veo es la diversidad. Tenemos diferentes cantidades de fondos, de cobertura, de región, años de experiencia, temáticas, o sea, una gran diversidad, así que es un compromiso grande poder servir en poner como las primeras líneas de trabajo y yo le decía a Mirna aquí sin micrófono, bueno, sí podemos asumir esta tarea, pero también con ella y por supuesto con ustedes en los momentos que sean necesarios. Gracias, Mirna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doña Mirna and Lourdes. You have done an incredible work keeping this work on Indigenous land funds together and really making this a thriving space. I appreciate it. I hope you're staying the co-chair. Okay. Well, we always guided by your wisdom and by your experience, you know, huge shoes to fill. And I'm really happy when we were in this little group that we had, the first thing that we said, it's really important that we build trust first, that we build our relationships, that we get to know each other, and this way we can, you know, get to the next step, you know, but this is the first step that we can do. So we hope that in the course of this conference that we come to the place where like I can call you up, say, hey, we need this and this, can we work on this together? And that happens. So that's what I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to meeting you all and having that, creating that relationship or deepen our relationship together and making the Alliance of Indigenous-Led Funds a reality.
Thank you, and thank you for committing the funds for this coordination. And with whoever you speak, I'm sure IFIP will need more funds because we're asking her to hire somebody to do this work. So that's an area of fundraising that we have to work on. And to be able to do all of those different activities, they will need resources. Someone
Lina?
raised, yeah.
Solamente, bueno, no sé si hablo en español o en inglés.
Dale.
Solamente que el Fondo de Defensores y Defensoras de la Amazonía puede hacer con nuestros aliados que no están aquí, que son también, bueno, no sé, cada quien se identifica como donantes, cooperantes, diferentes identidades, pero puedo reunirlos para juntar fondos para las actividades que están proponiendo a través de darnos otros fondos y después que ellos también puedan contribuir de manera solidaria para que ustedes puedan llevar a cabo estas actividades que están proponiendo. Es una cosa desde el IDF, del Fondo de Defensores y Defensoras de la Amazonía, y la otra es compartir también lo que hemos aprendido de las estrategias colectivas de la Via Yala, de cómo las hemos acompañado, pero también cómo están siendo llevadas a cabo por nuestros aliados de las naciones indígenas de la Amazonía y de otros países de la Via Yala.
Muchas gracias, Ángela. Bueno, yo creo que tenemos plan de trabajo, tenemos equipo de conducción, tenemos voluntarios para hacer el trabajo y tenemos a IFIP. Le devuelvo el micrófono a Lourdes.
Un voluntario para reportar mañana.
Para reportar a los donantes, yo propongo que sean las dos co-chairs y así se hace fácil. Sí.
Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you, Chris. I want to also just take a moment to acknowledge my two beautiful sisters who are sitting here, Liz Lisk and Chris Archie, who have been with friends, allies and working with us very closely in a beautiful way that comes from the heart and from a solidarity place rather than from a competitive place. And I want to just make sure that you know who they are, because they're an important part of also the work that IFIP has been doing with them and with the aunties, and with, I think, just supporting and holding each other when we need to do that as well. I think if I can ask Walneska's help on telling me where we are on the agenda. I think I have the paper. Okay, we're almost at the end of the day. I know it's been a long day, but it's been a very important day for us to meet. Next steps. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you want, we identify the volunteers. Do you want to do the next steps? Who's going to present tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Oh, we did? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, review. Okay, you want to do it?
Okay, everyone, sorry about that. Lost our, so here, let's move this real quick. We will project out. Will it just va a trabajar para conectar mi laptop? Ah, okay. Okay, we can, it's not the best, but I don't quite know. ¿Por qué está así? Maybe I could read them out though. I'll read them out. It's okay. There we go, kind of. So we're going to go through just kind of like the highlights, and we'll have a more breakdown for everyone tomorrow. This is just as we've been going throughout the day. It's in there. We'll have it in another format. So yeah, so our first one, managing donor relationships. These are some of the highlights that we took. What are donors doing for mental health because of genocide? Our funders and donors and the right reasons. Co-management, bringing conversations that are only meant for them. Where's all that at? How are we perceiving issues without having their own organization? And how can we show donors to spend on the right things? Next, we have two for managing. Okay, here we go. Changing the narrative, the ways that people fund, the systems in which they organize funding and standardization, how colonized countries denied all language, but there's to promote it as normal. Diversity and uniqueness are not the norm. And then we'll go into the narrative about indigenous funds. Conflict of interest has existed in philanthropy because it has believed they are interest. We should know that it's ethics. There should be mechanisms in place that creates transparency to avoid conflict of interest. What messages do we want the broader philanthropic sector to hear? We just want to live in our own way. Our own ways are valuable, more valuable than money. Criminalization needs to be addressed. We need transparency. Building an alliance for Indigenous-led funds. There's a lot of good ones in here. We have differences in geography and different technologies, but how can we develop decolonized concepts to apply different instruments for evaluation? So these will also be more in depth tomorrow. What is IFIP's role? Facilitation and bringing all together, engaging in activities, and recognize there is a person that has funds and are for Indigenous people and reduce the burden. build a joint narrative for partners to promote exchange of different funds and strengthen the funds when it is valuable. So so we'll continue with these, and we'll continue to show how the involvement happens. And tomorrow, those that could do the recap will have these in a more in-depth piece and have several just different highlight ones. And then we'll also incorporate what we brought to this beautiful urgency and 12-month step. And so with that, I know that we have a couple more things, right? Or are we about time? We have time? Okay. Okay. Is there anything else that we'd like to add before we end this? Do we want to, as you're looking at these, what IFIP's role is and the different, we could add within these different bubbles? Yeah, so we'll be sending the on swap card, the link, and you guys tonight, if you'd like, you could also add into this, and it'll generate it, and so then we could see in the morning what else was also added. But at this moment, is there anything else that you guys like to add? Yeah.
All right, so you guys were excellent. We covered everything on the agenda. So you get the gift of time and to enjoy the beautiful surroundings. I want to say thank you to each one of you for joining us today, for making the trip again to Mérida, for opening your minds, opening your hearts, and for being with each other for the next 3 days, altogether 4 days for us. There's a lot of ideas that you have put up on the wall. We heard of the priorities and the long-term priorities and the urgent priorities. I think IFIP does have a big job ahead of ourselves to synthesize, with the help of our facilitators, the key messages, and we'll be working with our new co-chairs to get ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow what's going to happen is during the morning there's going to be a plenary in which we're going to be hearing a report back from this group, a report back from the Indigenous Youth Dialogue, and a report back from the Indigenous Philanthropy Community conversations that are happening as well. But I think going back to why we're doing this work and why IFIP is so committed to continue to collaborate and doing this with Indigenous peoples and the Indigenous movements. And thank you, Teresa, for pointing that out, because what you also hear tomorrow, we're going to be sharing with all of you our new vision, mission, our goals, and you already have here our new 5 R's of Indigenous philanthropy. And a big part of that is calling for IFIP to also do this work with the Indigenous movement. So what we share with philanthropy does not come just from IFIP, the organization. It's coming from the many voices you all bring. It's coming from our members, particularly the Indigenous organizations and Indigenous-led funds who are members of IFIP. And it's coming from the different relationships that we carry. Our team is a team that is globally represented, and they each come from their own processes of being part of different movements, and therefore then have many connections and bring those connections into the work, into the reason why they chose to work with IFIP. There's a lot more work ahead, I know. I would love to see more of the anti-sin philanthropy growing, and so maybe that's something we can collaborate again with Chris and Liz to put together another gathering of anti-sin philanthropy. Maybe it could happen here or somewhere else. But also the idea of at least in the context of IFEP, and what we see is how do we also create a space for the youth, those who want to be or would like to be understand how to work with donors. So that's another space that we need to think about, that we would also like to hear from you. But with that, I want to thank you. We are very excited that we'll continue to work with you on this journey of continue to raise the visibility, but also to demand equal partnerships with the funding community. So with that, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day and the evening. Oh, one last thing. So sorry. Someone, we had printed these publications, which is the Indigenous Ways of Knowing and Sharing. They are in Spanish, English, and we have a few and also in Portuguese. So feel free to come up and grab one if you like to.